really more important in terms of the world, I think more important by far, Ukraine. Now, we've just had an incident of big losses by the Ukrainian Soldateska. You can't tell whether it's Army or Right Sector rebaptized as National Guard. 30 dead, and a big brouhaha coming from Poroshenko, the Chocolate King. Poroshenko is now into Hitlerian rhetoric. This is the rhetoric of Lidice, or the Fosse Ardeatine near Rome. He says, for every one of our glorious heroes who falls, we will exact a penalty of 10 to 1 or 1,000 to 1. That's worth a Nuremberg indictment right there, Gnome and Poro. So we note what I think we mentioned last week, that Cohen has deplored the silence of the U.S. hawks concerning the atrocities being carried out by Kiev. The Kiev hawks have been carrying out, Kiev Nazis have been carrying out atrocities all week. And Cohen, to his credit, does discuss something about the question of fascism, right? That the Kiev people are fascist. However, let us point out one thing. The terrain, if I were advising Putin, as would be good if I could, I would say to him, Putin, look, not so much in Ukraine is the key to this situation, but in following the advice of Glaziev. That is to say, you've already been hit by sanctions. You can retaliate now. You're afraid of more sanctions? Make it clear what you'll do. Any more sanctions, all loans will be defaulted on, repudiated, nothing will be paid. You'll dump all U.S. Treasury securities. You'll go to capital controls, exchange controls. You'll seize control of the Russian central bank, start issuing long-term, low-interest, zero-interest credit for infrastructure, agriculture, manufacturing, commercial activities, and everything else that adds up to a real economy. Not for derivatives, not for financial services. That's the area where Putin really needs to oppose and confront the West. If you get into this question of Ukraine, and then where do you draw the line, you may have to do that anyway, but the only way that can succeed in Ukraine is if you've got this general framework of bringing down the globalization system. Because as I said at the beginning, the globalization system has failed, and its failures have names. The Iraq-Syria situation, the Ukraine situation itself is a product of economic collapse. And, of course, look, what's the unemployment rate in Gaza? 50%. Well, they're under siege. Okay, why are they under siege? Because that helps Netanyahu. Why does it help Netanyahu? Because in Israeli politics, remember the no future generation? Remember the poverty rates among Israeli children? In other words, it all hangs together. If you follow the causal chains, you'll eventually get to the fact that we are in a breakdown crisis. Remember that fateful triple rhythm: depression, dictatorship, and war. But the depression is what comes first. Treat the depression, and you can avoid the other two. If you don't, you won't avoid either one. So we'll be back in a minute on World Crisis Radio.